This is Derek Foderinwa with the Medicine Shell, and today I'm going to discuss the topic of Ogbanje. The idea of the Ogbanje, or the idea of what I thought the Ogbanje was, haunts the mind of our people till this day. It is a lore that conjures images of demon children and cycles of pain and death. But I was wrong, and many of us are wrong in our misunderstanding of the Ogbanje. And the further I dug, the more I learned the truth of what an Ogbanje truly is. This is a truth that helped me understand the people around me, many of the people I admire, and something very important about life itself. The popular belief of the Ogbanje is that of the repeater, a spirit that chooses a woman for one reason or another, then through the process of birth and rebirth, enters the world through her only to die immediately or prematurely. So they come into this world, they bring joy to their mothers and fathers and homes, and then they die, taking the spirit of the child and the happiness they brought back to the underworld, only to repeat this process again. Ogbanje, from my understanding, was akin to a demon, an incomplete spirit whose sole existence was to torture over and over. But again, I was wrong. In order for the Ogbanje to be fully understood, I wish to first discuss what I believed and what is commonly known about the Ogbanje, which is a form of Ogbanje. Then at the end of the video, or towards the end of the video, I'll give the full picture of what the Ogbanje is as a whole, hoping to bring together both images of the concept to give a full picture. Ogbanje represents a loop of grief through miscarriage, infant death, and even childhood death, teenage death, and the passing of a young adult. A young woman dying before getting the results of entry to the university she's been looking forward to going into, a young man dying before the paint of his new home dries, or an infant dying right before getting their name are all classified under this phenomenon that exists to understand premature death. But premature death is subjective. And therefore, to understand the Ogbanje, you have to understand what life looks like or what life is expected to look like in Igbo thought. A normal life in this view follows a cycle of reincarnation, growth, building of one's house, the finding of a husband or wife, having children, which then signifies your entry into adulthood, reaching achievement and enlightenment, and then finally seeing one's grandchildren before dying, reincarnating, and starting the cycle all over again. By popular definition, we are all Ogbanje. We're all spirits that live to die and reincarnate or come back again into the world just to repeat the cycle over and over. The difference between what is considered a normal life and what is considered Ogbanje are the milestones reached before passing. In Alamor, or the land of the dead, as on earth, the Ogbanje are mischief makers. Ogbanje are spirit that belong to a coven of child spirits, which it walks Alamor with. For one reason or another, which I'll discuss at the end of the video, the Ogbanje makes the decision to sneak into the world of the living by latching on to the spirits of a mortal child that's set to be born, using the link between the waters of the earth, such as rivers and streams, and the water of a woman's womb, which are all known as Oshimiri, or the source water that begets life. When one member sneaks into the world of the living, the gang begins searching for that Ogbanje spirit and beckoning it to return. Ogbanje children, if they live long enough to show it, will exhibit unique and telling personalities and characteristics. They are typically good looking, stubborn, with an extremely well developed sense of self and purpose, even from a very early age. They are devoted first and foremost to their own happiness, which they understand very well. They detest suffering and hard work that is not immediately linked to their happiness. They are natural stars and have talents beyond what can be rationally explained, often speaking, thinking, and performing at a level that can't be justified by their age. They are fiercely independent and disengaged with ideas of marching to the beats of anybody else's drum. They are easy to describe to others, though difficult to understand, and most importantly, they have a fiery, rebellious disposition that makes them naturally adverse to order, discipline, command, and the control of others. In Alam More, the Ogbanje is tempted to enter our world due to a fantasy it develops in the land of the dead. The Ogbanje might imagine living a life of luxury or beauty on the other side, and pictures our world or the world of the flesh as a living paradise. The Ogbanje may be missing a friend they left on the other side before passing.
or pleasures of the world of the flesh, such as music, sex, marriage, and even candy. The Ogbanje may also regret a previous life of suffering or denying themselves a specific source of happiness when they had a chance to enjoy it. Next, the Ogbanje sneaks into the world using the waters as a portal into the woman. Because the Ogbanje is a visitor in the world of the living, while visiting, its band of friends search for the Ogbanje and try to wake the Ogbanje from our world back into the spirit world where it belongs. An example to help understand this is that of a dream. Oftentimes when we dream, we are able to hear sounds from the awoken world or the world outside of our dream, and they regularly seep into our dream and become a part of it. In a similar way, an Ogbanje's band of friends and their summoning become a part of the child's imagination. Because of this, Ogbanje children often show signs of feeling persecuted, followed, hunted, targeted, or engaged with the unseen and unseeable. Some will tell you they hear voices or feel the presence of people that aren't there. Some will show you behavior that implies they are being watched or stimulated by individuals that are not present. Many Ogbanje will tell you that they are Ogbanje and that they are being called to return. Many Ogbanje children have rich and vivid relationships with imaginary friends, and when asked about it, they are able to describe these friends with an extraordinary level of detail and specifics that do not draw from the child's lived experience. Ogbanje children are often stubborn, very charming, and determined with star-like personalities. Like the spirits on the other side, the spirits of the living are drawn to follow them, and they make an immediate and strong impact with their presence. They are often easy to emotions like anger and fear, but slow to others such as guilt and shame. Most importantly, Ogbanje children and adults show extreme signs of fixation on a single, seemingly random aspect of life. At the same time, they show extreme disinterest in aspects of life that we think are ordinary. They may be disinterested in engaging with friends and family for long periods of time, but extremely interested in film or a single instrument. Many can be disinterested in attachment or commitment, but obsessed with the idea of relationships or even sexual encounters. The extreme focus and interest ranges, for the most part, on each Ogbanje's interest, differing from individual to individual. But there is a way to tell whether the interest is natural passion or an otherworldly calling. For example, an Ogbanje that is fixated on food, if denied that food, will take extreme measures to get it. They can lash out violently or exhibit age-inappropriate levels of manipulation. It's important to remember that the scale of the reaction always overwhelms what is reasonably understood for the said offense. An Ogbanje child may fixate on spending time with a particular friend or wearing her mother's makeup, and when not allowed to do so, may try to set things on fire, break things in the house, or even react violently to the parents without regard of consequence. And just beyond that, something I learned allowed me to see the full picture of who the Ogbanje really are. For when an Ogbanje fixates on candy and lives a life where access to such is not possible, the child will die. When an Ogbanje fixates on music and is not allowed to play it or access it, the child dies. If an Ogbanje fixates on luxury and comfort and is born into poverty, the child dies. And when an Ogbanje fixates on beauty and makeup and is born ugly, the child dies. To prevent the child's death, the Ogbanje can be appeased and asked to return to allow more where it belongs and leave the child alive and healthy. There are 3 common methods for doing so. The first is to find the child's Iyi Uwa, or universal stream. This is often a token or a stone buried underground where the Ogbanje is aware of its location but the child is not. A child is asked to find the Iyi Uwa through digging, and once it is found and destroyed, the Ogbanje releases its hold. The Iyi Uwa is a spiritual anchor that keeps the Ogbanje tethered to the world of the living unnaturally. And when it is identified and destroyed, it is seen as a freeing ceremony for the child. It should also be known that the child themselves is not the Ogbanje, but instead a vessel being used by the Ogbanje to ride into the world of the living. Another method is scarification. It is important to remember that many Ogbanje enter the world for the sake of being beautiful, and therefore extreme scarification or disfiguring a child may lead the Ogbanje to take the child with it when it leaves. Therefore, the scar must be visible enough to offend the Ogbanje but subtle enough not to completely enrage the spirit and cause the child's death. And therefore, the most common scar are two small cuts, less than half an inch long, on the side of the child's eye. Another form of scarification is reversing the palm. In Igbo Cosmology, a person's destiny is written on their palm, and it is known as Akaraka. The lines on the palm exist as a script for one's universal path, and therefore, slightly extending one of the lines with a cut or cutting a line through one of the lines that are already there is enough to confuse and offend the Ogbanje into returning while preserving the child. The third method is persuasion. Regularly speaking to an infant about how great they are and how great the world is another method for keeping the Ogbanje from taking the child. Oftentimes the child is given names that either praise the child or the world around him, such as Wadimma, Aladimma, Uzodimma, and Waka, among others. But there's more to the story on how to deal with the Ogbanje spirit, and in order to understand it, one must understand the Ogbanje as a whole. There are two facts that I learned that shook the foundation of my understanding of what an Ogbanje is. The first fact is that Ogbanje, or most Ogbanje, live very long, healthy lives. Most Ogbanje live into their 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond, and many can even live into their hundreds. The second fact is that the Ogbanje children and subsequently Ogbanje adults not only live long lives, but seem to have the key to longevity in a way that others don't, and I will explain shortly. Solid 100.9 FM recently had a dibia as a guest that taught me that there were 20 different types of Ogbanje. Ogbanje is not a singular spirit, but a class of spirits grouped together due to similar characteristics. Now, I'm not going to list all 20 types, but I'm going to focus on 5 to give a clear picture, and hopefully you'll come to a similar conclusion to the one I came to. There's Ogbanje Egwu, spirits that sneak into the world to find happiness through music. These children have an exceptional connection to music that seems transcendental to us, and when they perform their craft, they immediately soar to the upper echelons of the profession. Through their music, others find identity and connection to sensation beyond the mortal realm. Their creativity seems limitless, and the whole of their being is dedicated to channeling this creativity through music. If they are denied happiness through what they came to the world to seek, they die. There's Ogbanje Chingom and Biscuits. These are spirits that enter the world to enjoy sweets. They are similar to another Ogbanje he listed, which is Ogbanje Udara, a child that is fixated on Udara as a fruit. An Ogbanje Udara can fight a person for stepping on Udara, and an Ogbanje Chingom and Biscuit will retaliate with unwarranted severity if denied access to sweets. They are children that will often flush keys down the toilet or destroy property or hail abuses on their denier. If the child is denied access to what they came to the world to find happiness through, the child dies. There are Ogbanje that come to seek happiness through sex, marriage, or even prostitution. Ogbanje Dianunu comes into the world seeking as much uncommitted sex with as many women as possible, to the point that it seems to be the primary focus of his life. An Ogbanje Ashawo also habitually seeks sex, but only in the form of prostitution, and no matter what is done or is said to the Ogbanje Ashawo logically, they must always return to prostitution. If either spirit is denied their purpose or their source of happiness in the mortal world, they will die. There are Ogbanje that return seeking a soulmate or a dear friend they left behind before dying, or they are born in twos and wish to remain in twos, or else their picture of the world is shattered, such as the Ogbanje Ejima. These are twins born identical to each other with an intuitive connection to each other. They are said to share the same ubi, and when one dies, the other one becomes an Ogbanje, destined to die until its own identity can be found and therefore released from the hold of the Ogbanje. Because they came into the world together, they believe intuitively, or their spirit believes, that they should leave together as well. There's Ogbanje as it relates to homosexuality and gender identity. It is believed that a child is born homosexual when he or she has a close friend of the same sex in a previous life. If they die at an early age, they return to seek that friend, and as they're often unable to find that person or even remember who they are, they become generally attracted to the same sex. There's also Ogbanje of a female child that may accidentally enter a male body, or a male child that'll accidentally enter a female body, causing either end to express as the sex of the spirit as opposed to the sex of the body, or in a conflict of the two. When the Ogbanje is allowed to live the life it wants to live, the Ogbanje lives a very long and healthy life. This is the reason why many Ogbanje will reject control or forms of discipline or behavior alteration altogether and treat them as affronts or threats to their life itself. And for me, this is when it clicked. An Ogbanje is a spirit that brings itself into the world seeking happiness. While most of us spend our lives hoping to find true happiness, the Ogbanje knows it from the beginning, and most of the time our attempts of disciplining or controlling these individuals to fit what we think works is rejected because we are very far from understanding the route to happiness or what happiness actually looks like. We may think that a spirit that comes into the world to chew gum is funny to an extent, but many of us live to serve the happiness of others, and this spirit becomes hard for us to understand because they are so different from that ideal. When we falsely call the Ogbanje a spirit that returns into the world to bring pain to its mother, we are still defining the death of an individual based on how it makes another person feel. And so from the Ogbanje, I've come to learn that the key to longevity for all forms of life in this world is ibiri kambiri, live and let live. And that's it. Let me know what you think. So everything I learned about the Ogbanje kind of reminds me of those dreams you have where everything is perfect and all of a sudden something tragic happens. I don't know if you ever noticed, but there seems to be a part of you that's in the dream and then a part of you that's watching the dream. And then when the perfect picture is shattered, the part of you that's watching goes, okay, we're done. And then pulls everything out so the dream ends. Let me know what you think, like I said. And let me know if there are any famous people you think might be Ogbanje. Everything I read and everything I learned seemed to describe Fela, Tupac, and Michael Jackson to a T. Like, comment, and subscribe, and stick around. I got another video coming soon. Thank you very much. Goodbye.